This is the scariest coffin in the world. Every year, thousands of coffins are left behind at pagodas in Thailand, usually because the families of the deceased don't have enough money to take them home. But this particular coffin is different. It's been here for 15 years, and every year something strange happens. In the north of Thailand, nestled among some truly spectacular mountains, is a small pagoda visited by many locals. But what makes this pagoda so special isn't its location or history, but rather what's kept inside. You see, up until 2007, people would leave their loved ones here after they passed away. They would then store the coffins here on the side of the mountain until they could afford to take them home. However, not all bodies would be taken home, and this meant that over the years, hundreds of coffins were left behind. With the coffins piling up, the Buddhist monks who run the pagoda decided they needed to clear some out. Yet when they tried to move one of the coffins, they soon realized that it was stuck. The coffin had been cemented in place with sticky tree sap. It took for men to whole days to remove the coffin from its sticky prison, and once free, the coffin was moved into the forest to be burned. But even here, it wouldn't stay put. Every night, the monks would hear loud knocks coming from inside the coffin. At first, they thought it was just animals moving around, but each day the knocks continued, and they were clearly coming from inside the coffin. Then one night, the monks awoke to find the coffin turned on its side. Nobody had touched it, yet it had moved itself. This happened again and again. Sometimes the coffin would be turned, other times it would be moved further into the forest. And each time the monks found it, it was in a different location. But the most incredible incident occurred one night during a huge storm. Lightning cracked and flashed outside, and thunder shook the ground. In the morning, the monks went to check on the coffin, and much to their horror, the lid was wide open. Someone or something had clearly tried to escape. But how? Could the intense heat from the strike have caused the coffin to split open? Yet there was no damage to the wood. It almost looked like magic. Still, despite how scared they were, the monks decided to close the coffin lid back up. They placed it back on the coffin and secured it shut. Maybe now whatever was inside would stay trapped. But the next day, they found the coffin lid lying beside the coffin. And if that wasn't strange enough, they noticed something even more disturbing. Security footage showed no one entering the forest that night. Yet the muddy footprints leading from the coffin to the edge of the forest were very real. Someone or something had come out of the coffin and walked away. Was it a ghost seeking revenge? Or perhaps an evil spirit possessing someone's body after they pass away? We may never know, and since then, the coffin has remained empty. Despite being over 15 years old, it still shows signs of movement. Locals visit the forest and claim to see the coffin moving through the trees. But we may never know if these stories are true. One thing's for sure, though, this is the most haunted coffin in the world. For the monks, this is too scary to deal with, and they quickly called the police for help. But when the police arrived, they saw nothing out of the ordinary. There was a coffin, yes, but no sign of a struggle. And besides, how could a ghost be haunting something that was never alive in the first place? So the police left as quickly as they came, and this left the monks with a terrible choice. They could either move the coffin to a new location or burn it. Given the coffin had been cemented to the ground, the monks chose to burn it. And as the fire started to spread, the monks prayed that whatever was inside would finally be set free. Yet even in death, the body refused to rest in peace. As the fire consumed the coffin, a charred hand suddenly shot out. Then a charred face emerged, followed by a horrifying cackle. Somehow the body had revived and was trying to escape the flames. But this couldn't last long. And as the entire coffin burned, the body slumped back down. Yet somehow it wasn't burned at all. It was as if the flames had a calming effect on the body, soothing its pain and allowing it to finally rest. With the body finally at peace, the monks felt lighter than air. They had managed to defeat the vengeful spirit haunting the forest, and the other monks could finally be freed from their sticky prisons. And so the monks got to work, removing every single coffin from its prison. But little did they know, one coffin was about to bring them face to face with the devil himself. In the chaos, one coffin was forgotten. It was wedged between two others and hadn't been moved in years. But when the monks finally discovered it, they knew they had to move it right away. What if another spirit was trapped inside? Yet when they tried to move it, the coffin wouldn't budge. They pulled and pushed, but it was cemented in place. Finally, they managed to pry it loose, but it was only to find a skeleton inside. Was this person cursed? Why else would their bones be sticking to the coffin? But the answer became clear once the skeleton was removed. The bottom of the coffin was covered in flesh, as if something had been trying to claw its way out. This person had clearly been cursed, and their angry spirit was seeking revenge. The monks were terrified. If the skeleton was still inside, who knows what would happen to them? But they had already come too far to turn back now. After securing the coffin, the monks began to chant prayers, hoping to calm any spirits inside. Once they reached the clearing, they placed the coffin down and ran as fast as they could. The moment they heard a blood-curdling scream, they knew that whatever was inside the coffin had been released. From the corner of his eye, one of the monks saw a cloaked figure dragging himself towards them. His face was pale white, and his eyes glowed an eerie green. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but no sound came out. Then he lunged forward. In a panic, the monks ran for their lives. Branches whipped across their faces as they crashed through the forest. But the evil spirit was quick and soon caught up to them. He grabbed one of the monks by the ankle and pulled him into the darkness. But the monk managed to break free and stumbled on ahead. He ran and ran until he reached the safety of the pagoda. But when he turned back, the evil spirit was gone, and with it, so was the coffin. However, the next day, the monks found the coffin in the forest. It had been moved again, but this time it was over. The monks knew they couldn't fight this evil spirit alone, so they called for backup. But before they could do anything, the evil spirit struck again. Another monk was dragged away into the forest, never to be seen again. So the local police were called in, but they, too, were no match for the spirit. It seemed that nothing could stop this evil spirit from causing pain. That is until a local priestess came along. She agreed to help the monks banish the spirit once and for all. Using her powers, she managed to track down the evil spirit and bring it back to the pagoda. There, she placed the spirit inside the coffin and used a special spell to seal it shut. The spirit screamed and clawed at the wood, but the spell held strong. Finally, the spirit stopped moving. Perhaps it had finally accepted its fate. But as the priestess prepared to move the coffin, she felt something strange. The spirit was still alive and well inside. So she called on her powers once more, placing the coffin on a pyre and setting it on fire. As the flames grew, the spirit screamed in agony. But as it burned, the flames seemed to calm down, as if the fire was soothing the spirit's pain. Once the entire coffin was engulfed in flames, the flames died down and the fire went out. Inside the coffin, however, something was stirring. The bones of the person inside were coming back to life. The priestess watched in disbelief as the skeleton sat up and then got out of the coffin. But that wasn't the scariest part. The skeleton then started to walk towards her. The priestess panicked and tried to run, but it was too late. The skeleton reached out and grabbed her. At that moment, the forest went silent. When the monks returned to the clearing, they found the priestess's body lying on the ground. The skeleton was nowhere to be seen. Had the evil spirit possessed the priestess? Where would it go now? They searched high and low, but there was no sign of the skeleton, and so the monks were forced to abandon the forest, leaving the evil spirit and the coffin behind. Many years later, a group of hikers stumbled upon the abandoned pagoda. One of them noticed some bones inside the coffin and called the police. They returned the bones to the family, but nobody ever claimed them. To this day, the coffin remains in the forest, forever cursed.